What he means is Old Testament thing there. Real wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling. 40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes. See it rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. That's hysteria.
Broadcasting live from the WDCE studios out of the University of Richmond. You're listening to 90.1 FM from the most trusted puppet in media. Reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Saturday morning. Want to thank, of course, everybody for listening into the show. Phone number, as always, 804-289-UR90. 804-289-8790. You can always listen to us live on the radio. That's an actual broadcast signal, WDCE 90.1 FM. But download the simple radio app, search WDCE to listen to the show live as it's intended, as you're supposed to. Of course, now I am broadcasting here. The Sam cams are up. Sam Newsman on Instagram. At Sam Newsman over here on YouTube as well. Shout out to DFS Infinite. Infinite. I can't even talk this morning. I need to get another sip of coffee. DFS Infinite. I'm just used to just reading it DFS. I guess things have changed over there. DFS Infinite. And then we also have Tiny Plastic Universe, White Vegeta already popping in here into the chat. It's an interactive show, ladies and gentlemen. Interactive show where if you do post a comment here on Instagram or over here on YouTube, I'm able to see it in real time. And if it's good enough, then I might actually read it out loud. So witty banter, witty comebacks are something that I'm always looking forward to. Commentary, of course, on the articles that I am going through. Of course, yes, I do actually talk about articles. We do have a real newspaper over here. It's again, we have the Richmond Times-Dispatch. This is this morning's Richmond Times-Dispatch. Here it is, the 10th day of December 2022. It is 1010 121022 1010 1010. And like I said, we are broadcasting live from the WDCE studios. What do you mean connection is unstable? Okay, trying to reconnect. Okay. Well, the connection is up and running here. It is here. Lone Dragon first in the chat over here on YouTube. Lone Dragon with his beautiful new blue wrench. I'm not sure how he got it because he didn't show up at Joe Fest. So I'm not sure exactly how that happened. But he does share the same birthday as my producer. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's it because he shares the same birthday with my producer. I mean, I guess that's a fair one. That's fair. Yeah. Ash Bailey here, MC DJ Mark Cosplay. They said, hello, White Vegeta. I see you over there. Once again, we are broadcasting live on Instagram, also here on YouTube as well. Ash Bailey said, I need to start paying attention to the Christmas is coming and need to get presents for people. Well, you can either get presents for people or you can just buy them for yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Lone Dragon says, cash is fine for me. Cash is fine for me. So once again, like I said, at Sam Newsman on Instagram, at Sam Newsman on Twitter, Sam Newsman here on YouTube, Sam Newsman on TikTok, Facebook, Twitch, all over the place. And so that's where you can find me live. And so, like I said, interactive show. We do have people here in the chat, but I do have this news article here that I wanted to talk about, and this might hit. We'll see once again. So the humor, satire, if humor, satire, and the occasional smack talk is something that upsets you, I got two words for you. That's kick rocks. Kick rocks, because we're just having fun here on a Saturday morning as I'm going through the news articles of the day. With this one being, of course, here it is here on the front page of Richmond Times-Dispatch, where your story lives. Where your story lives. Virginia's news leader. Yeah, so you know that at the top of the Richmond Times-Dispatch, it says Virginia's news leader. Well, there used to be two newspapers here in the Commonwealth. There was the Richmond News Leader and the Richmond Times-Dispatch. But back in, I believe, 1991, the Richmond News Leader closed down. It didn't close down. It was just swallowed up. Media consolidation. So I've been familiar with media consolidation for a long time. That's why there's only about 5 or 6 different corporations that control news and information. News and information that's looking out for you. From humans that aren't actual real puppets. People call them media puppets. But here I am, a real media puppet on the radio. And I could really get offended about all that, but I'm not going to. I will. It takes a lot to offend me, a pink puppet. Why? A pink puppet. That the only reason why I'm not a member of the Four Horsemen is because I'm pink. Now that's kind of offensive. That's out to you, Arn Anderson. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see you out there. Next time I talk to you at a convention, don't think I'm not going to bring that up. I should be a horseman. I should be an honorary Four Horseman, but it's because of my pink skin color that I'm not. Shout out to Roundhead there in the chat. Once again, we are broadcasting live here on Instagram and also over here on YouTube. But you want to download the Simple Radio app. Search WDCE so you can listen to the show as it's intended to. We do have TNT Nate calling here in just a few moments. But first, I want to get through this article. So hold on just a moment, Nate. We'll get to you in just a few moments. But the city set to remove A.P. Hill statue as early as Monday. Now, if you're not familiar with this, a couple of years back, some individuals decided to storm down Monument Avenue and destroy the property value by tearing down all the statues. Yeah, tearing down all the statues and basically obliterating, at one point, Monument Avenue was the only road that was designated a historical landmark in the country. Now it's just a historical rubble, a heap of rubble, and nothing there anymore. But there is one more statue around here. A Confederate soldier A.P. Hill statue stands at the intersection of Laburnum Avenue and Hermitage Road. City set to remove A.P. Hill statue as early as Monday. Judge denies motion to delay taking down the Confederate monument. After several legal battles, Richmond's A.P. Hill statue is set to fall as early as Monday, according to court documents filed in Richmond Circuit Court. On Thursday, the judge denied a motion from the legal counsel of the Confederate general's indirect descendants to delay the statue's removal. What's an indirect descendant? Either you're a descendant or you're not a descendant, right? What's an indirect descendant? That's what I want to know. Yeah, I'm not really sure what an indirect descendant is. But anyway, so the legal counsel, the judge denied a motion from the legal counsel of the Confederate general's indirect descendants to delay the statue's removal, giving the green light for city administrators to disassemble the monument. Barring any subsequent legal challenges or unforeseen logistical hurdles, the removal of the last city-owned Confederate monument can begin this Monday, December 12th. City officials told the Times-Dispatch. Richmond's effort to remove the city's Confederate monuments began in June 2020 after a raging mob decided to destroy the property values of everyone who lived on Monument Avenue. June 3rd, when Mayor LeVar Stoner announced plans to take them all down. In the middle of the night after the raging mob had seen a series of night after night protests following the murder of an individual by the Minneapolis Police Department. Last year, the city announced it would transfer the removed Confederate monuments to the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia. Now, if you remember that they did take down the Robert E. Lee statue, and I believe it is now currently laying down on the floor with a noose around Robert E. Lee's neck at the Valentine Museum, covered in a pool of paint. Yes, and that's considered now art. Yeah, well, I mean, whatever. But yes, listen, nothing says, history education than tearing down statues or burning books, if you will. So yeah, you can't sit there and have anything up, that would possibly remind people of yesteryear, because it would be behoove anybody to have a statue or books that are out there that people could possibly reference, in order to make sure they don't make the same damn mistakes again. No. We just got to tear them down and just completely obliterate the history altogether. But removing the Hill statue proved to be a particular challenge because the general's remains were buried there in 1891. His remains are said to be located inside the statue, or underneath the statue, the plinth, P-L-I-N-T-H, plinth, on the intersection of Laburnum Avenue and Hermitage Road. The city petitioned the court to allow the city to relocate Hill's remains to a gravesite in Culpeper where Hill was born. However, several indirect descendants, there's the indirect descendants, not sure what an indirect descendant is. Several indirect descendants of the Confederate general opposed the city's plans and made their case in the court following the city's court petition in May 2022. Although the descendants did not object to moving Hill's remains to the Culpeper Cemetery, their disputes centered around who was the rightful owner of the 130-year-old monument. The group claimed to be the rightful owners of the monument because the monument itself is a cemetery neglected by the city. Over the course of several months, the two parties presented arguments to the court determining the statue's rightful owner. Ultimately, the judge ruled in favor of the city to decide where the remains and burial marker will lay on October 25th. We're gratified by the judge's ruling. Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoner said in a statement following the ruling, "This is the last stand for the lost cause in our city." Now, it's not our city, Mr. Stoner. Mayor Stoner. It is the city of the people who actually live here. You're not even from here. You're not even from here, and I'm not really sure why you want to consider it our city, because it is not your city. You're just a politician who's decided to come in on the behest of special interest, if you will, and then decide that, oh, hey, this is my home too. Well, it's not. You're just here as an individual and a politician. Probably end up trying to run for governor and say it's anyway, so forget him. So what else do we have here? The judge ruled in favor of the city. The distant relatives vying for control were given several weeks to file an appeal, and they filed several documents to the court, including a motion to stay the statue's removal pending the judge's decision and notice of appeal to the Supreme Court of Virginia. The judge considered the council's motions on December 8th, but during the hearing, the group vying for ownership admitted to having mistakenly directed their appeal to the Virginia Supreme Court rather than the appeals court. Given the response gave no arguments or evidence regarding the likelihood of their success on appeal, the judge denied their motion to stay in the removal of the Hill Monument. The judge also found that delaying the removal would result in additional cost and remain a potential traffic hazard. So, well, that's really the key here. It has nothing to do with, destroying history and, destroying heritage. It has everything to do with the fact that the damn statue was in the way. If you're familiar with that intersection, I don't know if you're familiar with that intersection, but if you ever tried to drive around that statue, you almost had to drive up on the corner of the statue. You had to drive up on the corner of the statue just to get around the thing. So, but, it's... I mean, far be it for them to sit there and destroy this. Well, I'm glad that they're moving it to another cemetery, because what they usually do is they just decide to just bulldoze over it and build some condominiums or maybe a parking deck like they do over Native American heritage sites. So at least you got to give them some credit. Give them some credit they're actually going to move the remains and not just, obliterate it. And like I said, build a parking deck like they would normally. So you give them some kind of credit there, right? I mean, there's nothing. I mean, well, once again, the real problem is just driving around the thing, because it gets in the way. There's no business having a statue in the middle of an intersection. There was not even, if I'm not, there. Was there traffic lights over there too? Anyways, it was ridiculous. The whole thing was ridiculous. Anyways, this coming down, it's going to get out of the way, and traffic flow will be a lot better, which is all that really matters at the end. Is the traffic flow is better. Because we don't want to get anybody in any wrecks running into old Confederate statues here that are up there as well. So let's see here. So shout out to a couple other people here in the chat. Casual Toy Collector, DFS. Let's see here. Blah blah blah. But yeah. So anyways, the traffic flow will be a lot better, and really that's all that matters. That you need to have. No one wants to get in a wreck, and no one wants to get into a wreck. And say nothing says remembering history more than than tearing down statues and erasing history and burning books, by the way. So that's what's happening Monday. Monday we'll have some better traffic flow. I mean, that's something to celebrate, right? You don't have to worry about driving up on the corner of the statue just to get around the damn thing. So that's what's coming up here. And now I do believe that I'm waiting here for TNT Nate here to call in. Wanted to talk about what we touched briefly on last week. Now, last week we were talking about the crypto billionaires that were dying all over the place, and then we brought up the Twitter files that have been leaking out a little bit, bit by bit by bit, which of course, the media is saying is a big nothing burger. And they would know. They would definitely know because, well, the media would never lie to you. Would they? Of course not. Of course not. They are always looking out for your interest and making sure that you are well informed, more so than anybody else. And but that's it. What do you guys? You guys are talking about the Golden Girls. Golden Girls down here in the chat. I'll play the Golden Girls theme song a little later. So during the sitcom block. But as for right now, like I said, I'm waiting, of course, for TNT Nate, our official news correspondent. No, was it news analyst and conspiracy correspondent? Yeah, news analyst and conspiracy correspondent. And I believe that he is getting here right here on the phone right now. Once again, download the Simple Radio app, search WDCE, so you'll be able to hear these phone calls as intended in case you cannot hear them on Instagram or over here on YouTube. So let's see here. Hello, Nate. Are you there?
I am, Sam.
Nate, how are you? Good morning. Happy Saturday morning. Hope you had a fantastic week. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Dallas won last week. Did they not?
Of course we did, Sam. Every week I tell you, we're America's team. This is our year.
It's just like last year was your year. The year before that is your year. It seems like it.
Our year, Sam. Hush.
Oh well. Anyways, so Nate, listen. Did you have a good breakfast? Did you eat a bowl of cereal this morning?
No, Sam. It was actually eggs, toast, and cookies and milk, Sam. That's the best breakfast combo there is.
Cookies
and milk.
Cookies and milk for breakfast. There's a lot of children out there that are probably very jealous because their parents are giving them oranges or bananas, and here you get on the radio and you sit there and have to brag the fact that you're having cookies and milk. Does Santa know that you're having cookies and milk?
Let's take that back to all of those parents. Good for you.
Good.
If you're listening, good for you. I just needed to have a little extra sugar in my diet this morning because I had a lot on my mind, and as you know, every week I call in. There's a lot going on. So the cookies and milk were there for me, kind of like Santa when he needs that extra little bit of energy for Christmas. If your kids are listening, that's why you leave them the cookies and milk. One, it's the best snack known to man. And two, Santa needs that extra energy. So there you go, Sam. Now,
quick, before we start getting into your news analysis and conspiracy correspondent diatribe. Now, what type of milk do you use?
I use, a couple different brands, but I have to stick with coconut milk these days, Sam. I think it's delicious. It's a little healthier for you than animal milk, and that's my go-to.
So coconut milk. Now, do you dip your cookies in the coconut milk?
Absolutely, Sam. It's the only way to do it.
It's the only way to do it. Do you wait till they get soggy, or just do like a nice, small dunk at the beginning and then?
No, of course. You got to have a little bit of crunch, but mostly the combination of the sogginess and the crunchiness, that's what makes a good dipped cookie.
Okay, well, so here we go. So we have the cookie conspiracy analyst now. So it's the cookie analyst, the cookie correspondent, if you will. TNT Nate. You can follow him at TNT Nate on Instagram. But Nate, you said that you have a lot on your mind. Last week we were talking about billionaires that were getting killed all over the place, and then we briefly brought up the whole Twitter fiasco, which over the course of the last.
Crazy, Sam. What are these people have been saying? The stupid term, nothing burger.
Yeah, it's a nothing burger. Yeah, it's with lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, and nothing, and nothing, and nothing. So you know what that would be? That would be a burger with no meat, I guess, right?
So let's see what didn't age well and see if it's really a nothing burger.
All right, so go ahead. You have the floor.
Did Jack Dorsey testify under oath that Twitter doesn't censor?
I believe he did.
Oh, he did.
Yes.
He did. Well, that's not looking like it's a nothing burger now, because I believe it was more than him that said that on multiple occasions. And I think what we've seen here is that there was obvious censorship.
Well, but wait a minute. Listen, don't people lie under oath in front of Congress all the time and nothing ever happens?
Oh, you mean like every politician? probably, Sam. But they're allowed to. They're in the. They're that's they get paid to do that. Oh wait, no, we select them. I mean, elect them. That's right. They're supposed to represent us. It's a mess, Sam. You're right about that. But citizens, capital citizens. Remember I said that later on. We'll get to that. Like Mr. Dorsey can't do that. It's a big no-no, Sam. And you especially can't lie about government being involved. And I believe they used a couple words in those files that I paid quite a bit of attention to. Because if a regular business thinks that they want to have a partnership with another business, well, that's cool. But this little concoction that's happening here, where the First Amendment is in question if you're censoring a political candidate, one being the sitting president at the time of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump.
Orange 45.
When you're censoring the president or others, one big one I'll get into, Dr. Shiva, he has litigation against the government about his censorship and about how it cost him his election. Like I said, I'll get into that. But when you do that, Sam, one of the biggest parts of the First Amendment, folks, is political speech. You can't censor political speech. People got to be able to take everything in. That's why we have the freedom of speech. You may not like what someone has to say. I may not enjoy liberal commentary, but it's their right to have that commentary. It's everyone's right to have an opinion. It's your right to say whatever you want. People don't like it, they can turn it off. That's the point.
Well, but wait a minute. But I can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's wrong. That's not freedom.
Insinuating danger.
Oh.
It may come off as a threat.
Oh.
That is against the law. But just because you may have an opinion that someone doesn't like doesn't mean that you can get censored. That's the whole point. Without the freedom of speech, you got nothing else.
Yeah, but listen, but you know that tabloids, I have someone saying tabloids aren't meant to be taken seriously, including the New York Post is what I have here in the comment section.
Exactly. If it was a regular company, if it was satire, great. But when you are going behind a political candidate and you are censoring political speech during election time, well, censoring political speech, that's a First Amendment violation. And you're not just doing it between you and your friends, because I'm sure OAN News isn't going to report kindly on the Clintons.
Right.
Just as an example, Sam.
Sure.
But they are also not purposely going to deny a story, or if they have a social outlet, such as message boards and such as partnerships. And here's the word that I want to talk about. OAN doesn't have partnerships with the government. NBC is not supposed to have a partnership with the government. What we're finding out in these
Hello?
quoted
Okay.
partnerships. Can you hear me?
Yeah, say that one more time, sir. You broke up for a second. It might be the general trying to cut you off. Say that one more time.
Probably is the general. The key here, the story here, I think, is the partnership, Sam. You can't claim partnership. And Dr. Shiva, in his lawsuit, is currently proving a backdoor tech-wise. But they are now, in the quotes here from the employees, proving partnership with the government. You can't team up with the government to censor someone running. That's violation, and prohibiting political speech is not allowed, and that's exactly what's going on here. So in my opinion, I don't think that's a big fat nothing burger, Sam. I think there's a lot more that they can take from this, and I don't think you've heard the last of it. Listen, if they're doing a great job at trying to make this seem like a nothing burger. But when you look at past cases with Twitter, and then you go to Dr. Shiva's case, and you look at the facts, this isn't looking like a nothing burger, Sam. And you know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
reminds me of, you know, I always have to talk about a little bit of history.
Sure.
Censorship. It reminds me of, and this act that I'm about to mention isn't just about censorship. It's a lot bigger than that. You know what? Let's go to 2013.
Okay.
In 2013, we had a legal act be overturned so that they allow now the government to communicate to the public using propaganda. Did you know that, Sam?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Continue.
So you know that old adage. It's easier. I think Mark Twain quoted it best. It's easier to fool people than to convince them they have been.
Right.
Well, now the U.S. government is legally allowed to use propaganda on you. Congress passed it was the Smith Moderation Act. The act overturned a prohibition in place in 1948. And it just so happens the agencies using propaganda happen to be in question here now. The FBI, the CIA, they're always, I feel like we mention them at least once a week here in some form of the conversation. And they are all in question. I mean, if you look up Dr. Shiva's case, he has an entire diagram that they're going to have to fight. And it just so happens that these files are released, Sam. What a political battle we have. I mean, this is anything but a nothing burger. And then you get quotes like this. Because it's not only working with government that's in question. Listen to one of the quotes here. This is coming from IT engineer Kathy Chen. She was an employee of Twitter, working in the China region, and she says this is the word that I'm gonna continue to go back. She says, "Let's work together to tell great China story to the world." And then she says, "Where is it? Oh, thanks, and look forward to closer partnerships in the future."
Well, isn't that a good?
CCP, Sam.
Well, but isn't
that is a partnership alleged by a worker from Twitter with the CCP, Sam. That's a story, and that's not a nothing burger, especially if our government is also in partnership with Twitter.
well, so all right, I understand what you're saying, but of course, I do have some people here still in the chat saying that the New York Post uses logical fallacies, though, in the political speech, and that was one of the reasons why Twitter had to shut them down. Well, of course, all news does at this point, it seems like. But that was and it was for your benefit. It was for your benefit the reason why they had to shut down the New York Post and other things. So is it not just for your protection? Is it for people's protection so they're not getting misinformation?
Sounds like people would rather be safe than free, Sam.
What do you mean?
I personally would rather be free, and the freedoms here that are being protected legally are what's in question, not safety. Okay? Freedom that men had to fight for, Sam, that I proudly stand for. That is what's being protected here. It's freedom. It's our freedom. Now, that being said, Sam, there's things that have happened that a lot of people don't know have happened.
Like what?
Are you familiar with the Constitutional Act of 1871?
Go ahead and tell us about it.
Here's where all this may be legal, okay? And this is coming from me because I don't want it to be legal, but this is where it may be legal. U.S. government, I don't even like to read this. It was the Republic, American National, we the people. You know how we always quote we the people, man?
Correct.
It ended at the 1787 Constitution, petition from the common people's site, where it has stayed until now as a new citizen /person status. So let me break this down. Easy. You know when you look at your ID and you see all caps, your name,
right?
your birth certificate,
Oh, because it's just your birth certificate.
Yeah, right. It wasn't always like that thing.
What do you mean?
Capitalization is used in legalese, and it means something completely different than a word that isn't capitalized. And I wouldn't have known this unless I looked back at the Act of 1871, and it emphasized the new laws, the new maritime laws governing the District of Columbia and all of us, which have been classified as the District of Columbia's citizens. No longer we the people, the sovereign, it is we the citizens. And because of that one act, all of this legally may be allowed to stand. So I implore all of your listeners to look up and read thoroughly, because we don't have time to do that. That's a whole hour if I start reading that. But look up and read thoroughly the Act of 1871. And think about the repercussions that it has on this country now, and the families that we always mention, those families that Kanye won't name, but that we always mention every week, that it helped, and that can now privately make money off of this country and its rulers. So
interesting.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case, man. Seems to be the case. But you never know what's going to happen. There's more Twitter files to be released. This does go back and take a few pages out of history that you may have to go look up. But I have a feeling that information, especially now in this heated political environment, is going to be released any hour now. They said yesterday that they were going to release it, so I'm waiting, just like you are, Sam. And the Twitter files are interesting, folks. Keep your eyes on them. I don't think there's nothing burgers, but in the end, they may actually be legal. Is it right? That'll be up to you, the listener. But it's just up to me. And thank you, Sam, for giving me the platform and maybe give you a little bit of truth so that you can go check out this information and discern for yourself whether what's happening is for your best interest, or is it to protect you, or is it ensuring that we still have freedoms here in this country? And I personally, TNT Nate, is all about protecting the freedoms, Sam.
Well, it sounds like it, but you know what? I think that you could have just saved yourself all that long-winded discussion and just said, hey, if you just want to do something about it, just go grab your damn birth certificate, get some white it out, and go ahead and rewrite your name without capital letters and do it correctly, right? You can't wait. Can you do? You can't do that. Wait.
You know the rulers, Sam. They would never make it that easy.
Well, listen. I mean, it's just over.
You're a real puppet, Sam. You luckily have your niche that you. But the rest of us got to go out and get jobs, Sam. We can't be changing our IDs like that. It's not that easy.
Well, I mean, listen, people had a bunch of fake IDs back in the day just to get into a club. Didn't you ever have a fake ID?
That I needed to go vote or to get a job or to do any of that, Sam? I don't think so. But you know what? And did TNT have a fake ID? Absolutely not. Always above board, Sam. You know the rules.
Well, the rules are that I think that all you need to do is just go down aisle 3 over at Office Depot, get yourself some whiteout, and go ahead and find your birth certificate and rewrite your name without the capital letters. You know, if you sat there and wrote your name in capital letters in school, your teacher would have a fit. She would sit there and circle your name with a red pen and tell you to do it over again and over again. So I'm not really sure. Well, maybe it's just so that people can read it. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But
am I talking to you, Sam, or am I talking to General Chu?
No.
I'm feeling like any minute now he's probably going to call in or cut the hard line like he always does. He doesn't want me to have people looking into the legality of the current Constitution, Sam. He doesn't want me to be telling people about what's really happening in these Twitter files. You know the deal.
Well, I know the deal is that it probably all goes back to your love for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm not sure if they're going to win this week or not, but you think that they are, right?
We're America's team, Sam.
Well, anyways, so TNT Nate, everybody, at TNT Nate on Instagram. The Saturday morning news analyst and conspiracy correspondent telling everybody that your birth certificate is an error because they have, well, it's not an error. It's supposed to have all capital letters. Listen, I'm not really sure. Go grab some whiteout and go fix it your damn self, I guess, if you have a problem with your capital letters on a birth certificate. Nate, goodness gracious, go Cowboys, whatever. Oh my gosh. You know, we didn't even get into the whole. I wanted to still talk about. I wanted. That's right, DFS. I wanted to keep going into the whole propaganda rag known as the New York Post, right? Yeah. Actually, they're all propaganda rags. New York Times is a propaganda rag, and Washington Post is a propaganda rag. It's all propaganda rags. So, and whatever. Well, yeah. Ash Bailey says I write everything in capital letters because I'm so darn mad. I'm so darn mad. And but anyways, like I said, it's very interesting. We'll see what all happens with all of this here in the future. Anyways, here we are broadcasting live from the WDCE studios out of the University of Richmond. And let's see here. I believe that Richmond does have a basketball game today, too, as well. It's at 2 o'clock. So, 2 o'clock, there's a basketball game. The University of Richmond does play a basketball game. And so be on the lookout for that if you are into basketball. Go Spiders! Go Spiders indeed. So like we're gonna sit there. Oh yeah, good morning, Kenzo. I see Kenzo's collections down here as well. Triple D. I did see the toy community, the toy pick community. They logged in as well. Shout out to the toy pick community. Any of these people that I sit there and say here online, go make sure you go and follow them. Jeezy Creasy and Sergeant Schultz, Curtis Schultz as well. I see you guys down there in the chat here on YouTube as well. So, anyways, thank you all for being a part of the show. And I tell you what, we're going to play some cartoon themes here. Get back to what the whole thing is. You know, we're trying to play cartoon themes. We do need to sit there and talk about news and information. Get allow people to come in and analyze the news, in a way. But so once again, shout out to TNT Nate at TNT Nate on Instagram. Saturday Morning Radio's official news analyst and conspiracy correspondent. We'll be back on the other side of the break at the top of the hour to discuss, of course, an interesting story that involved the president's organization. The president's organization and how I believe it was 15 counts, 16, 17 counts. I don't know. Anyways, we'll talk about it. Orange 45's organization, and what is it exactly went down earlier this week in reference to that. Once again, you can download the Simple Radio app, search WDCE to listen to the show live. You can also follow me at Sam Newsman on Instagram, at Sam Newsman on Twitter, and at Sam Newsman on TikTok, Sam Newsman Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch as well. Like I said, we'll be back at the top of next hour, 804-289-UR90, 804-289-8790 to be a part of the show or to request your own favorite cartoon themes here on the only radio show dedicated to the magic of Saturday morning, hosted by me, yes, a real puppet. From the most trusted puppet in media, reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Saturday morning.
Welcome to Videoland.